right, guys. Hey, what's going on? WMAP, world's most amazing people. And as you heard in that last interview, I got a fan favorite that's in studio with me today. The lovely Capriana is with us, too. And I am very excited to have this great strength coach, Chris Brady's here. First of all, Capriana, how are you?
I'm good, Casey. What's going on with you?
Chris Brady is here. We're in the presence of greatness. Chris Brady, how are you today?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Chris Brady is a strength coach. If you guys haven't heard the other interview that we've been playing quite a bit here, and people seem to love it, he's right here on the island, and the guy has done some incredible things with his clients. I got to tell you, I have a friend, Tyler. We know Tyler. Tyler is somebody that you coach. Or
Yep.
Would you call him a client? Do you call him? What do you call him? Like
He's a friend that's participating in my experiment.
Okay. Okay. He weighs probably about 170, 60?
155,
55.
Yeah, pretty lean.
Okay, you got him bench pressing 225 pounds, I think something like 15 or 20 times or something like that.
Yeah, it's not so. We do bottom up stuff, so you climb underneath the weight, and instead of having the rebound of you benching and coming back up with it, you just climb underneath it and press. So for reps, it's a little bit easier, but when he first started, he could only do 230 for one, and now he's done 225 for like 14, wow. 15. No change in body weight.
That is, dude, it's incredible because if you go to the NFL combines, they're not even putting it up that many times. I mean,
that would be a good number for a guy his size. They would be blown away.
I mean, it's incredible. So how? First of all, where did you learn this technique? He says that he can't explain how you do it, but it's totally ideal. Yeah.
So basically, I studied some Russian style periodization, Bulgarian style, American style. I went into each of them individually for a couple months at a time. So I like this, I don't like that, and then I kind of found that the weaknesses of some were shored up by the strengths of the others. So I was able to use each of the systems to make a better system, and then combine it with my knowledge of biology, anything else I've learned. I combine to make the system what it is.
It's pretty awesome. It's incredible. And Cap is totally into fitness. You can tell she's in great shape. She did some modeling. She still is doing modeling and fitness. Cap, are you blown away with what we just said? I mean,
yeah, I'm blown away with the fact that you aren't just a fitness coach to try and have someone lose weight, but to make someone gain strength. It just takes a whole different skill level.
Yeah. For some reason, the fact that losing weight is the default of your body if you don't do anything just doesn't inspire me to do anything about it. Like if you just stop eating, you'll lose weight. It will happen. It'll suck, but it'll happen. Strength's a different game because you have to actually do something. It's an active process. And that just, that gets me out of bed in the morning. It's a different thing.
Well, Chris, I was going to ask you, is some of your technique where you tell your students, your clients, is nutrition a big part of this? Or I know you don't specialize in that, but to get stronger, do you have to eat more? What?
I give loose advice. I say, eat when you're hungry, right? So, don't let yourself get too hungry. Or more importantly, if you're someone who has to really watch their weight, make sure around the training sessions you eat. So the gas tank doesn't always have to be full, but right before you train, it has to be full. So there are times in the week where you're 3 or 4 days away from training. You'd be in a deficit. It's not a big deal. But maybe if you're training Saturday, maybe Friday night, get a little crazy.
Okay.
Just don't do that every day.
Okay.
That's what I've done. It's what my clients have done. It seems to work well. And I also tell them to eat a lot. If they eat beef, pork, eat a lot of meat. It helps your body heal better. That's just been my experience.
And I think the coolest thing is, Cap, you weren't here. We were at the other studio when we did the first interview with him, and he was so right on where he says that. You asked me a question about nutrition. He's like, I don't really know, but it's all about strength with him. It's just this is how we get stronger. I mean, how do we start? Say you all right. Say you took an old guy like me, right, who used to be in shape, but now wants to get back in shape. Do you take on a client like me?
Absolutely, yeah.
Tell me what you do.
So I come in. I'd have you. Can you do a bench press without pain? Because usually that's the problem with older guys. It's like I'm banged up here, I'm banged up there. So what I do is, all right, can you do a bench press without pain? It hurts at the bottom. All right, so we'll shorten the range of motion. Can you do that without pain? Okay, cool. How about if I add some weight to it? And we just go from there. And then as you get stronger through the range of motion that you're comfortable, eventually I can kind of start stretching the range of motion. Next thing you know, you're benching, and you're benching well, and you're strong, and you feel good, and you're harder to injure, and you're a more robust person. Like I've rehabbed a guy from a pretty bad shoulder injury, and he was 58 years old. And that's not, most people wouldn't consider that young to start lifting weights. And,
right.
He's back at work doing tree work 6 days a week, getting after it. like nothing happened.
Wow.
So yeah.
And how about a woman that is in great shape but wants to get stronger?
That's the same thing. It's the same deal.
You start out.
As long as you're a human, I got you. As long as you're a person, I can help you.
Chris, how do people get a hold of you? Do you want your email? Should we give out the email?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so guys, you can go to chrisbradystrength at gmail.com.
Yep.
And you can find them there. Cap, when in your training, did you ever train to get stronger, or is this something kind of new? I know you're totally into fitness.
Yeah. I mean, training to get stronger is like a whole different playing field. You know, a lot of people, they train to get tighter and more toned. So that's what I've always gone for. I've never gone for, benching a certain amount of weight or being able to, do biceps and curl 40s. I've never been in that type of shape, but I mean, to start doing something like that for a woman, that would be incredible.
Mm-hmm. Chris, I know you deal with a lot of athletes and pro athletes, and do you get a lot of women that come in and want to get stronger?
I've dealt with I'm trying to think, maybe 30% of the people I've trained have been women. Yeah, because sometimes girls really do just want to get stronger.
Right.
Like they don't necessarily want to get like big and bulky, which I always tell people, it's like, yeah, go ahead, try. Good luck with all that.
Yeah.
But there are people who dedicate their life to that and have trouble with that. But yeah, there are girls who want to get stronger, girls who play sports, girls who compete. Like nowadays, girls compete in powerlifting, CrossFit. Strength's a big deal for all of those sports. And back to what you were saying before about physique or like bodybuilding, the way I always relate to them is I go, look, let's say you could bench 130, you do 4 sets of 10 at 135, right? Would you be bigger, assuming that's what you want, if you could do 225 for 4 sets of 10? They're like, yeah. It's like, well, can you do it for 1? No. Well, before you can do it for 4 sets of 10, you got to do it for 1, which means you got to get stronger first.
Right.
So at the end of the day, a lot of strength applies to like everything we do. Things we take for granted. I think if people just understood how increasing their maximal strength related to the things that they want to do in their everyday life, a lot more people would be into it.
What do you find in that? You start work with somebody and they start seeing improvement. What changes in their life? I mean, what do they tell you mostly? Is it confidence? What is it?
If they're not an athlete, just things get easier.
Okay.
That's one thing they say. Things get easier. Things hurt less. That's cool. So that's nice. If they are an athlete, they get hurt a lot less. Like my brother went to play D1 ball for 3 years. Nothing. Not a nick on him. Nothing.
Wow.
That's hard to say, especially a defensive line.
Oh my God!
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
the big dude, right?
Yeah, and he came in at 215. He left at 260 because we wanted to get him there. Now he's back down at 220, like that. But he said that his first year he went in, he was a 215-pound D lineman in D1. It's kind of small.
Yeah.
Second year he came in, he's like, I feel like these guys aren't trying or something. He's like, I feel like they're hitting me, but I'm not like, it's not. I'm not reacting. So I explained to him. I was like, look, dude, the idea is this. If you were to go play football, you're 18, 19 years old at the time. If you were to go play football against 14-year-olds, how scared would you be? Not scared at all.
Right.
What's the difference between you and a 14-year-old? Force production and force absorption. That's the main difference. You go out on the field with a bunch of, like, they're not going to hurt you.
Right.
So my goal is to make you to the athletes you compete against what you already are to someone who's much weaker and much more frail compared to you. That's what I do.
I mean, when he came on last time, and he said some really interesting things, but until I saw or knew, like on paper, what this guy did, this guy Tyler I'm talking about, who weighs 155 and benches probably as much as some linemen in the NFL. And it's because of this guy. He goes, I didn't do any of that until I started working with Chris. And yeah, go ahead. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, Chris, I heard that you have this formula that you write in people's phones, and it's like hieroglyphics.
Yeah. Basically, what it really is I'm just saying what you did, but I say it in like abbreviated form that I understand.
Right.
So I don't have to track it. I don't have to write everything down. I outsource all of my data to all my clients. So like you have notes in your phone, it's all gonna be in your phone. You want to try to understand it? Go ahead, fine, good luck. But, so when they come to me, I go, all right, let me see your notes, blah blah blah. I look through the notes, I see what makes the most sense, and then we go forward.
And you mentioned something about you studied some Russian techniques, and what's different about how other people do, how other cultures do it? And Russians, for some reason, they're always strong in athletics, right?
Well, there's I don't think it's a secret. If you've ever seen Icarus, Russians, they have some really good supplements. But besides that, like take away, because they're competing against people with good supplements and they're still beating them. So I got to give them credit where credit is due. The Russian system, I always describe it's more circular. They'll train, they'll build up, and they'll kind of undulate back and forth between things. The American system is much more linear. It's they start at a point and they peak to a point. And the Bulgarian system is much more always just like on the day. Just it's not so long term. It's not planned so long term. They all have their pros and cons. The American system is obviously it can be goal oriented. It's very directional. You can see where I am and where I want to go. The Soviet system is very safe. Like you hear a lot of Russian wrestlers. They talk about it too, where they do a lot of like 85% drilling. They don't like they say America. We're just like we go hard and we
full speed,
leave it on the field. The Russians are like, nah, we're gonna do this at 85%. We're gonna do it 5,000 times every day.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time they get to the Olympics, they're just like technical monsters.
Right.
Their strength training reflects that. So this is very similar. So that's the Russian system. The American system. The Bulgarian system is they just in weightlifting the competition is a 1 rep max, and they just do that all day. So there are differences, but they all have pros and cons, and they all kind of fix each other's weaknesses.
If somebody goes to Chris Brady Strength at gmail.com, they contact you and they want to get in touch with you and work with you, can they expect to do anything as far as cardio goes, or is strength just going heavy? Or tell me the difference.
So I do use different rep ranges, but I maximize each rep range. So I sometimes I do 1 rep maxes, sometimes I do 26 rep maxes. Now 26 rep max, tell me that's not cardio. Do that. Yeah, right. That's not cardio. But one of the things that I noticed about cardio, and wrestling actually taught me this, is that like wrestling was really hard. And football was also hard, but the cardio didn't really carry to each other. Like wrestling was harder than football, but it didn't get me in shape for football. Like, what is this? Cardio, in my opinion, in my experience, tends to be specific to the domain you use it in. So grappling cardio is grappling cardio. So what I do is I think of it like I'm building the frame to your house. No matter what sport you play, you're going to flex and extend your joints. You're going to press, you're going to pull, you're going to squat, you're going to hinge. You're going to do that in every tennis, wrestling, football, doesn't matter. So as long as you're a human being and you got the joints we got, that applies to you. From there, that's the frame of your house. Whatever you want to play tennis, all right, so there's your frame. Go into tennis and build the house around that frame. Go into wrestling, build the house around that frame. Whatever you want to do. But it gives you a nice head start. It has a lot of upside and not too much downside. But the cardio I found is best built in the sport.
For that sport.
You want to do cardio, do shark tanks in wrestling. That'll build your cardio. Do stuff like that. I don't know if everyone calls it shark tank, but I'm sure you know.
Groups of 3, groups of 4?
Yeah, one guy goes in fresh. The guy goes in and wrestles against him. He stays in.
Beat the hell out of him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You want to build your cardio for wrestling? Do that. You want to just play your sport. For me, that's where cardio is best developed.
I see. Well, I've never looked at it that way, and that's probably why you're getting the results that you're getting. Chris Brady, the amazing strength coach here, he's here on the island, and I guess if you're here listening to 103.9 or WMAP and you're in Suffolk County, do you take people in Nassau County? Mm-hmm. Okay.
If they're willing to come to me, they can. I'll take anybody.
And then you'll train. They come to you. You go to them. How does that work? With
they come to me because my system. I could adapt it to other pieces of equipment, but it's really best when it's in the equipment that it was developed in.
Right.
So it's only once a week. So I mean, if you're coming from Nassau County, it could be like a 40-minute drive, but it's one time a week. And if you're really concerned about getting stronger, I don't think that should be too much of a barrier between what you want to do.
Is that important? Is it the rest that's very important when you're trying to get stronger?
The rest is extremely important.
It is. Tell me about it.
Extremely important. So if you'll notice, like if you train heavy on like say Sunday, right? You train real heavy, you beat yourself up. If you continue to do that like every day, every other day, you're just going to start going backwards.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that what they call overtraining?
Yeah, to me, I'm cautious with overtraining because sometimes I'm like, hey, you're kind of just being a punk. Like, but at the same time, sometimes it's real. So injury, illness, you start feeling like you're getting sick all the time. That you're beating yourself up a little too much. But your body corrects. So put it like this: an 8-cylinder car, right? It's usually faster than a 4-cylinder car. Not as good on gas, right?
Right.
Humans, you got fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibers. One was like an 8-cylinder car, the other one's like a 4-cylinder car. The difference with humans is you have your mechanics built in. So if you start running all the time, right, producing a lot of force, your body goes, if he keeps doing this, things are going to break. So it down-regulates you. So your force production will start to drop. So if your concern is getting strong, you're going to need to allow your system to recover so you can go back to producing those high-end force.
Wow. So this is I guess you get to notice over years of doing this. I mean, the studying. I mean, is every person different? I guess is that what you're trying to say, kind of?
No. Well, every person will start to slow down or weaken if they produce that force all the time because the body will protect itself.
Wow.
If you actually look at the statistics on D1 college athletes for football, they're much slower when they leave college than when they enter. Which you would never think. You look at the same guys at the NFL combine versus at the high school combine. They're always faster.
Wow.
Significantly faster. Yeah. You run all the time, your body downregulates itself to a 4-cylinder engine because it doesn't want you to get hurt. So rest is important.
Yeah, so Casey, with what you said before, I want to talk to you about rest periods. I mean, it's so important because, when I work out my legs, if I do a crazy workout, like an hour and a half intensive workout with just my lower body, it takes me about like 5-6 days to repair my legs. I could be walking around like spaghetti, like noodles. So with your workouts, you're doing a full intensive body workout. That's why you only have like once a week?
Yeah, so my basic, when people first come to me, I just start with presses and squats. Then over time, that'll evolve to presses, squats, and hinges and pulls. But yeah, it's very intensive once a week. You don't, with me, like when they come to me, they'll do their training. They're usually not full. Like I'm feeling really good till like 4 days after.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And then do people expect to be? You would think if you're gaining strength that you're going to be really sore. Do you find people in the beginning that they get really sore? Is that a good thing or bad thing? Is your body letting you know something? What is that?
From my experience, it seems like it's a good thing because, all right, so when you first start training, I'm sure you've seen people, like, they never lifted a weight before, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, they look different because they just started doing it. It's novel. Their body doesn't really know how to respond to it, so it kind of gives away the house in terms of adaptation. It does. You see, and then you'll watch a guy.
Yeah, wow.
You'll watch a guy start training, right, and he'll get to, let's say he weighs like 200 pounds. He'll get to a 300, 315 bench press, and then a couple things are going to start to happen. One of those things is not he's going to keep getting stronger. What's going to happen is he's either going to have to gain a whole bunch of weight to keep getting stronger. He's going to get on all the steroids and keep getting stronger. Or he's just going to be like, you know what, strength's not that important, man, and just kind of back off the strength. Where's it going with this? Lost my train of thought.
About being
the sore. Yeah. So with my system, part of the reason why it works is that you actually never really get in shape for everything you do. So you keep the newbie gains coming for a longer period of time.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
you'll be getting. Okay. Yeah.
No, go ahead, please.
So it's like you'll do it in a lift, right? You'll hit a certain number. Then you'll leave that lift alone. You'll do a whole bunch of other stuff that you know is related, but your body doesn't know it's related. You'll come back to this old lift out of shape for it and hit a PR.
Well, I mean, is that what some people call a plateau? Is that?
Yeah, my system is completely for there's no plateaus happen.
You're preventing it from leaving that lift alone for a certain time, and you'll come back to it.
So yeah, exactly. But the things that we do in between are connect to it. Like they're correlated, but they're not the same thing. So you'll do a lift, you'll hit a PR, you'll hit your number, you'll do a whole bunch of other stuff that's not the same lift, but it has carryover.
Oh.
And if you can stack enough different things in a row, that'll maximize your PR when you come back to the lift.
Wow. I mean, so you must laugh at like the cosmetic lifts, like bicep curls and pec deck and stuff like that. Is it a strength guy? Does the strength guy say is that doing anything? It's just making you look better. Does that make you stronger? Like the lifts, like the cables and stuff, all these fancy lift stuff like that. Do you care about that stuff?
I mean, I don't personally care about it. In my experience, it hasn't really done much. Like I've done both. Like I've went the bodybuilding route for sport, and it was really embarrassing for me. Like I got slower, weaker. All the size that I gained disappeared super fast, which doesn't happen with the compound lifts. You like it's almost like you have like it's for lack of a better word, a superficial build, and it falls off really fast.
Okay, so it's cosmetic. It's
it
like
really
it's
is.
like people would. I shouldn't say it. Is that people take steroids? Is that cosmetic, or you can actually get stronger doing that? So it's probably not a good point.
But it's more for bodybuilding.
Okay.
Like for the actual building of tissue, steroids are much. It's not that it doesn't happen in strength work, because it definitely does, because muscle does help you lift more weight. Mm-hmm. It is one way to get there, but bodybuilding, it's much more.
And it will go away quick, right? Like you were talking about.
Yeah, even without the steroids. Like I got up to 205 right before football season. I went away to football camp, and in like 4 or 5 days, I was down like 190, and I was slow. And I was uncoordinated. I was robotic in the way that I moved. And I'm like, okay, well, this is not. I did it. I tried it. For me, that's not the way. This is not the way. So in terms of the guys who do like the pec deck and stuff like that, listen, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But go and compete in a sport that requires you to be strong and make your own decision. See how it works for you.
And you said it's pretty much your system is you push, pull, and squat. I mean,
push, pull, squat, hinge.
And hinge.
Yeah.
What's a hinge?
Like a deadlift, Romanian deadlift, RDL. Deadlift. Good morning. Like
Good morning. Yeah.
Anything where your hips, you just bend the hips. That's a hinge.
And when someone comes to you and they have, say, an old injury or something like that, is that something you got to take into consideration?
Oh,
or do you leave that body part alone, or do you work on it?
Well, so let's say it's a shoulder injury, right? Mm-hmm. But certain ranges of motion don't bother it. So I'm like, fine, we'll take what your body gives us. So we'll build those ranges of motion, get them super strong. Hopefully some of that strength bleeds into the longer ranges of motion, and over time you can reclaim that range of motion. That's been my experience with my own injuries and with the people I've rehabbed.
If someone, we're going to talk about this. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll spend more time with Chris Brady, guys. He is the amazing strength coach here on Long Island. And if you go to Chris Brady Strength at gmail.com. I know that the website is, you're working on the website, I believe, but you're also on a bunch of social media. Can you tell everybody like how if they don't want to go to Chris Brady Strength at gmail.com and get a hold of you, where else can they find you?
Chris Brady Strength on Instagram and Chris Brady Strength on Facebook. Those are my two main platforms right now. And
when we come back, I want to ask you more about what people can expect, what the benefits of strength are. I'm here with Capriana, and I'm here with Chris Brady. And guys, we're going to take a break. You listen to 103.9 and WMAP. Be right back.
From listening to records, I just knew what to do. I mainly taught myself. And, I did pretty well, except there were a few mistakes that I made that I have just recently cleared up. I'd like to just continue to be able to express myself as best as I can on the instrument. I feel like I have a lot of work to do still. I'm a student of the drums, and I'm also a teacher of the drums too.
All right, guys, we're back. WMAP 103.9 FM, right here, Long Island, 103.9, 94.1 The Bud, Orlando, Florida, in 102 countries, WMAP.com, WMAP Radio. I'm here with the lovely Capriana and Chris Brady from Chris Brady Strength. You can reach him at chrisbradystrength at gmail.com. He is one of the most renowned strength coaches here on Long Island, probably everywhere. The guy's making a whole bunch of sense, and it's very interesting. Cap, are you knocked out by this guy? I know you're into fitness.
I'm knocked out for the sole fact that you said that you take all these different things into consideration. You took Russian, and then what else did you say? Bulgarian
and the American system.
Yeah, so what made you even think about looking into countries like this for their fitness systems?
Well, the Bulgarians, you look into the Bulgarian weightlifting system, they're this tiny little country, like 8 million people, and they go up against, at the time, the Soviet Union, which they're a part of, and they just dominate for 20 years. Just all the gold medals go to this tiny little country. So, and it's like, oh, they're on steroids. Yeah, so is everybody else. Why are they killing them? What's going on here? And I was like, all right, so that was an easy fix. I was like, all right, this coach came up with this system. It's a very simple system. Just max out all the time and figure out how to do it. I'm like, all right, that kind of makes a little bit of sense. Problem with that is they would just kind of go through their athletes like a buzzsaw, and only the strong would survive. You only have one you, so take what you can from that, but that's not going to work for you in the long run. The Russian system had much more of so I would say, all right, so there's my answer to that is they won all the time. Uh-huh. All right, the Russians didn't win all the time, but they won a lot. And they were different. So I'm like, okay, what were they doing? So they would cultivate a lot of lifters. So that 75 to 85% effort that it didn't really burn you out. That it allowed them to shore up weaknesses in a lot of different body types. So a broader range of athlete would be able to make it to the top level. So, all right, that's interesting, cool. And then the American style, it didn't really work as much for weightlifting, more powerlifting. So squat, bench, deadlift instead of clean and jerk and snatch. Ed Cohn. If people follow powerlifting, best powerlifter of all time, deadlifted 901 at 220 when he was like 21 years old. Wow. So he got really strong, system worked really well, but the problem is you burn out. So like he lifted that at 21 and then like 31, nothing.
Yeah, your body can't take that, right?
Yeah, like it's like he 10 more years and nothing changed. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, there's an issue here. Like I found, all right, I like this, don't like that, like this, don't like that, like this, don't like that. So I'm like, all right, I'll combine those things and then I'll go look elsewhere for other stuff. So I'll start studying neuroscience, psychology, history. I like looking at systems on macro and micro scales. Like, how does this work? How does this work? And apply that to my strength training system.
Wow. So I mean, that's a great question, Cap, because it's pretty incredible that I don't think most people, most coaches or trainers or are really doing that kind of research. That Chris is doing. There's so many different things. You mentioned something about psychology. Do you study the psychology of getting stronger or sports? What is that? How does the mental aspect work when somebody comes to you?
Well, I study. Okay, so I do study the psychology of sports, but I study psychology in general. I like learning about what it is about, like what are humans like? What are we like? And I like to see parallels between psychology and biology. I like seeing how biology reflects in psychology. But in terms of specifically like the strength psychology, or like I look at the psychology of people who have to execute hard things. So guys who go to war, guys who fight, stuff like that. I'm like, all right, what are the best practices that these guys use? I like a lot of what Customato said, the guy who came up with Mike Tyson. And he said the hero and the coward feel the same thing. It's not that the guy who goes in there, the hero, the guy who everyone looks like, oh, he's not. He's scared. He's scared to death.
Right.
Like he's puking in the locker room before he goes out there. It's the way he deals with it is what makes him different. And if you actually watch the way I lift and the way I teach all my clients to lift, it's very calm, cold, calculated. Doesn't matter. That's 900 pounds. That's 300. Doesn't matter. You're either gonna lift it, you aren't. Go do it. And that applies to. And it was in jiu-jitsu. I call it get shark eyes. I just go like I'm not wrestling a person right now. I'm just wrestling a complex object
This
that
is
wants to strike me. Yeah, that's it. That's
Wow.
it, exactly. And the more you, and it's hard to do. And it takes time to develop. And I'm sure there are, like, if I went and did something super like, out of my element, I'd freak out too, like everybody else. But that's the goal.
I see.
So
And when people come to you, if they want you as a strength coach, do you deal with motivation at all? Do you try and motivate them, or you just say, "Look, this is what I can offer you, and you want it or you don't want it. I'm not going to try and rah or anything
Yes.
like that." Is that your approach? Tell me about that.
If they come to me and they're like, I kind of want to get stronger, but I just got to get motivation. Don't come to me.
I love it.
I'm bored. I'm already bored. I don't want to hear it. Go down the street. Go talk to someone who's gonna like, ha ha, rah rah.
Right.
I'm not the guy.
So
I'm not the guy.
So you're in the trenches with this person, whoever you come in with, and you only want people that want it.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to waste my time.
That's integrity.
That's like the people that go to Planet Fitness for the free pizza on Fridays.
Yeah. Yep.
Guys, I'm here with Chris Brady. He's a strength coach here on the island. You can contact him if you go to chrisbradystrength@gmail.com. Also, if you go to Instagram?
Yep. Chris Brady Strength on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, and you can go there too. I'm also here with Capriana. She's here with us. Hey, Chris, you mentioned before that Capriana asked you about the different styles that you studied, the Russian and Bulgarian. Have you dealt with any clients that actually are just kind of the weekend athlete, or do you deal with just the professionals? Can anybody go to you, or do you deal with just the athletes, or someone who wants to kind of just maybe like they call them weekend warriors?
The weekend warriors. Look, if the weekend warrior understands he's a weekend warrior and is dedicated to being a weekend warrior, I can help you.
Okay.
I can work with you, because if you're a weekend warrior that wants to dedicate 1 day a week to training, as long as you're serious about that, that's fine. I'm not going to judge you for whether you want to be a world champion or not. As long as you know what you want and you stick to that, that's cool. No problem.
I know that you deal with a bunch of athletes in different sports and everything, but do you have a favorite? Do you like the fighters most, or
grapplers?
You like the grapplers?
Yeah,
Tell
grapplers and
tell
grappling.
Tell me about this. Tell me about grappling. Does that
It's
mean
so
wrestling?
1-to-1. It's so grappling in football, really, because football, with the exception of a couple positions, it's like 99% just being a freak and being violent and 1% technique. Whereas wrestling's maybe 70-30, and jiu-jitsu's even more. Like you look at the top wrestlers, you're gonna be hard pressed to find a top wrestler that doesn't also look like a savage. But you'll see jiu-jitsu guys, and they look like regular people.
Right.
That's very strange.
Yeah. That's kind of
It's very weird.
Right.
But that speaks to how much physical power is necessary in the sport. So wrestling is a much more it's a fast-paced sport. There's a lot of technique, but also being strong is very nice. Like if you ever watch Alexander Karelin in the Olympics, you know who that is?
I haven't seen him. Who's
Like
that?
800 wins, 1 defeat. Russian. Remember Rocky IV?
Okay.
They
Okay.
based him on
Drago.
on Karelin. They called him the Experiment.
Oh wow. Okay.
So he was a
okay.
super heavyweight in the Olympics, and there's like a body, I forget what it's called, but like a guy would bottom out on the floor, right? And this is a small guy move. The guy would belly down on the floor, and a guy would come up and be able to lift him off the floor.
It's like freestyle or something.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Parterre position.
This guy would do it as a 285-pounder, and there's these 285-pound Olympic caliber wrestlers that would bottom out on the floor for dear life, and he would just walk over to them, pick him up with his knee, just throw him over, and just drop him.
That's incredible.
Tell me strength doesn't matter. Look at this guy. Like, you trust me. Like, you want to be as close to that as you can, because if you're not, you might run into that. And you're in danger.
like if you look at like a Brock Lesnar
Yes.
or somebody
yeah.
like that,
Perfect
somebody huge. How much of this is just that they're born with, or how much can you? I've seen what you did with Tyler, and I mean, that guy's strength has improved an incredible amount. But how much are you born with?
Well, anything like biomechanical, like I can't change the width of your shoulders.
Right.
I can't change the fact that you're 5'7", not 6'5". Like it is what it is. But within the constraints that I'm allowed to work with, like I don't see any limit or any reason why your ability to produce force would have to stop. So yeah, I might not be able to turn you into a 6'7", 300-pound monster, but you can have, hopefully what I'm aiming at is the strength of one in a much smaller weight class. Like that is the goal of my system, is to give a featherweight the strength of a heavyweight.
Wow.
And past that if possible. Like I can't change the size and stuff like that, or I don't change the bone structure and all that, but when it comes to your ability to produce and absorb force, which at the end of the day is really the only thing that matters anyway, those bone structure things only matter because they help you do that. That's what I can help you with, hopefully indefinitely.
And as far as you said something about grappling before, do you find that those are to do that, you have to be pretty disciplined, so those are the clients that you want?
Oh yeah. It's like you didn't get through X amount of years of wrestling because you're not disciplined. Like that kind of are you a disciplined person or not? That problem was outsourced to your wrestling coach for me. Like, I don't have to. The fact that you're here tells me everything I need to know. Like
right.
That's good. It's exactly what it is.
Wow. And so you'll have a lot of clients, I guess, that are maybe college players that you train over the summer. You only get them for a small window of time.
A lot of high school. I've had some college kids, and yeah, it's a small window. High school kids, and then after high school, people who are like, you know what, I don't want to give it up yet. Like
right.
I want to try to get back into it. But yeah, the college. There's one kid I trained. He was a college running back for Stony Brook. His bench press was stuck for like 3 years. It was like 275, wouldn't budge. In a month, I got him to 305. Didn't change anything about his body weight, but I had him for like total like 4 months. But if they're close, they can come home on the weekends, and then it doesn't even make a difference.
Right, because you're only training them
once a week. Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes twice a week if they really think they're about it. Fine, but once a week is for most people.
So if you're say you're a woman who wants to get stronger. Is it a different approach than a man, or is it the same kind of?
No, same approach. At the end of the day, like some people have different personalities, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to get you to the same place.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'll use the example right now. I have a girl that I'm training, and then I have Tyler. Like,
okay.
So Tyler, I always say, he's the type of guy where if his leg's hanging off, I got to stop him because he wants to keep going.
Okay.
Like, he's tough. Like, we used to play sports together when we were little kids. We called him Nails because he was just, you couldn't stop him.
This isn't the Marine that we're talking about. And
he's too tough for his own good sometimes.
Right.
And then I have this girl that I train, and she's very in her head. She's very nervous. So I got to be like, no, you're okay. Tyler, I'm like, no, calm down. You know what I mean? So it's like there's personality differences, but at the end of the day, you may be coming from somewhere different, but you're going to the same spot. You're going to the same place.
I see.
So the angle's the same.
It was very interesting that you said about rest, and Capriana brought it up too. That she said that after a tough leg workout or something like that, you're walking around and like your legs are like spaghetti. You said, and how important is rest for strength, not just for getting in shape or whatever, but for actually getting stronger. You said we need it. It's very important, but why is it so important?
I don't know the underlying the molecular mechanisms going on in this thing, but what I've seen happens is your body, what looks like it protects itself. So if you produce X amount of force on Sunday, you're going to do, if it's really maximal, you're going to do a little bit of damage, which is fine. That's normal. But if you try to go again on Monday, your body's going to have down-regulated certain things to not let you produce that force again. So you have to let your body do what it needs to do so that you can go back and produce the same or more force.
Should you train when you're sore?
Depends on what you're doing. Like you can do like recovery style stuff, like super high rep, like 100, 300 rep sets with like no weight, just to get blood to the joints, like that type of stuff. But when it comes to heavy stuff, it depends on how sore you are. Is it your muscle soreness? Or is it your joints are sore?
Right.
If it's your joints, maybe give it a little bit extra time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's really kind of a personal feel.
Gotcha. Guys, I'm here with Chris Brady. He is the strength coach out here on Long Island, and you can get a hold of him if you go to chrisbradystrength@gmail.com. Also, Instagram and Facebook, Chris Brady Strength. And I'm here with Capriana, too. Chris, now, you deal with a bunch of athletes, but you also deal with, as you say, like myself, as a normal person, not a professional athlete. Former athlete, right. Yes. With a has-been than it never was. But when someone comes to you out of the blue and they hear you or something like that, they want to work with you, they want to get stronger, what's a realistic goal that they should have? Is it all percentages? What is it?
Yeah, percentages are the name of the game because it's the easiest measurable mark of improvement. And so everyone who comes to me, they have to train with me for a minimum of 6 months. I guarantee them 10% on the lifts that they come to me with. There's no one else that's doing that right now. If they are, show me them because I haven't seen them. I guarantee you 10%. There's an attendance policy. You have to show up for at least 80% of the classes. But if you come to me, you will get at least 10% on your list at 6 months.
Wow.
There are people who go 10 years for 10%.
Yeah.
For just chipping away at nothing.
And is it a good idea for people who, like you talked about before, about that plateau where people just kind of get to a certain level and they stay right there? Is that when they should come and get you?
Absolutely. That's my ideal client. My ideal client is someone who's been training for a couple years. And they still really they love it, but it's kind of they're losing the love for it because it's not rewarding to go to the gym and not make progress. It sucks. But that's my ideal client.
Wow. And as far as we I asked you a little bit before about cardio, but do you tell people when you're not with you, when you're with you, I know it's all about strength and it's all about what your system, but when they're not with you, do you give them a program that they be doing other things or what?
I recommend don't do anything with a barbell.
Okay.
Like try to keep the barbell out of your hands. Save that for when you come to me.
Right.
If they're in season, if they're training, like I build my system so they can they'll train on Sunday and then they'll go to wrestling practice for the week. And then they'll come back and train on Sunday. Like as long as they're not doing too many new things, they'll be all right. Like if they already have a body that's used to handling wrestling practice 5 times a week, and then they add that, then they come start training with me, the wrestling practice isn't going to ruin it because they're already there. They're already in shape for that. But if they just start doing wrestling practice after they train with me, that's different. Like their body's it's like an extra variable that's being added in.
And like how many are you still taking? You're taking new clients
Absolutely.
on now.
Yep.
And will you take? How long does it take? Should people be with you? I mean, how long are your sessions?
Between 30 and 90 minutes. It depends. Because sometimes, like I know you'll start with a number that I need to have you hit, but sometimes you hit that number and it's kind of easy. So what I do is I go, I find routes of progress through the training. So if you can make 2 or 3 or 4 weeks of progress in one day, we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. If it means you stay 30 minutes longer, as long as you got the time, we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? So it can last 90 minutes, sometimes longer. It depends on the person.
And if you're not an athlete, what would you tell people? What's the advantage of? It's kind of an obvious question, but what are some of the advantages of being stronger?
Yeah, it's obvious, but it's not until sometimes when you put the terms out there in language, they're like, oh, wow. Mm. You don't know when you're going to slip. You don't know when you're going to fall. You don't know when you're going to fall down the stairs, fall up the stairs. You don't know when you're going to be in a car and someone's going to hit you.
Wow.
And you're going to be really happy your bones have a density that they do have and not a less density because now your femur's not broken. These are all things that people would love to know, would love to have, but they don't associate it with being stronger. And you don't know when something's coming. You're walking at night. Someone pulls your car. You don't want that,
right?
You know what I mean. And if you can't control when it's going to happen, but you can control whether or not you're prepared for it to happen. You should do the best you can to do that. And it's chaotic.
And at any age, I mean, will you work with kids that are like junior high school?
Absolutely,
you will.
Absolutely.
And it's good. How do you avoid burnout if you work with somebody that young? I mean, you see a lot of burnout with some athletes. No, if they come to you, they gotta.
And once a week.
Yeah, right.
You get enough time to hate me, recover, and be like, I kind of want to get strong again. It's the perfect cycle. 7 days, you come back and you're like, I feel good again. Because you kind of lose motivation if you train too much. Like you're saying, burnout.
Yeah.
Take time off. You come back, you're good to go again. You're refreshed. So no, I have not experienced burnout with my guys.
Wow. I mean, it's guys. I'm here with Chris Brady. He's out here in San Mauritius, right? Is that
Lake Ronkonkoma?
Lake Ronkonkoma is where you train
Yep.
people.
Yep.
Do you call it train when you're dealing with strength? It's training,
It's
right?
training. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So he's a strength coach out here on Long Island. If you guys are not on Long Island, I'm sure you're just loving to hear this, and you can go check him out on Instagram and Facebook at Chris Brady Strength. Chris Brady Strength at gmail.com. Excuse me. And Chris, so what can we look forward to hearing from you? Do you have anybody that you want to tell us about that's a great success story, somebody that pops in your head? I mean, we talked about Tyler for a little bit. Is there an athlete or somebody that is really having an effect, or you see that your system is really taking off? Can you tell us about somebody like that?
Absolutely. My younger brother.
Okay.
The first guy to trust me with the system.
Was that D1 football player?
Yes.
Okay.
He's in 11th grade. I had a conversation with him. I said, look, dude, you want to play pro football, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, are you even the strongest kid in your team right now? He's like, no. I'm like, that's a problem. And I was like, and if you're going to be doing the same, if you're not the strongest guy right now and you all do the same thing, you're going to remain in the spot you're in. So you're going to have to do something different. So he trusted me. And that year, he went from running a 4.6 at 180 pounds to running a 4.5 at 205 pounds. So he gained 25 pounds and knocked the 10th off his 40. Now he's 220, and our goal for him is I'm trying to get him to a 3.5, 4 times body weight squat. From there, that will have direct carry to his vertical, which will have direct carry over to his broad jump, which will have direct carry over to his 40. I plan with him. Our goal is to go to the combine, break every single record handily, and be like, "You want to learn how to do this?"
Wow.
That is my ultimate marketing strategy. Is to do that.
I mean, there's no better commercial than that. I mean, the
That's
proof
the goal.
right there.
Yeah.
And I can tell you what, like we talked about our common friend who was on the show with you last time is Tyler. You took him from, I think he could do 225, maybe, what was it, just once,
yeah.
And now he's doing it the 15, 20 times,
Yeah.
or something like that. And that's the proof right there. I mean, you don't need any other proof than that, Cap. I mean, this guy's incredible, right?
It's so impressive.
Yeah, it really is. Hey, so, Chris, we go to chrisbradystrength@gmail.com,
Yep.
Instagram or Facebook. And before we get out of here, we got to take a break. But is there anything that you want to leave people with? I mean, some advice. So, people, why should they get in shape? Why should they call Chris Brady? Why should they get in touch with you?
2 things: weak things break, and stronger is better. That's it.
That's awesome. Well, guys, Chris Brady strength@gmail.com. Cap, did we learn something today?
We learned quite a lot, Casey. Definitely get in contact with Chris Brady. He's doing some big things.
Yeah, awesome. Chris, thanks so much for coming by, and we will be checking in with you and hearing what's going on.
Thanks for having me.
From listening to records, I just knew what to do. I mainly taught myself. And, I did pretty well, except there were a few mistakes. But